Hello, everyone. Welcome to Surefire Live. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. All those things. I hope you guys had a good one. I did. I got to see a lot of family and friends, and we got to do a little skiing last week. And that was, I used to ski a lot. Haven't skied for probably 13 years. And so, uh, but my daughter hadn't skied before, maybe one other time in Indiana, which isn't really skiing. And my wife doesn't ski. So I went with my brother and his family and taught my daughter how to ski. It was a lot of fun. So it was a good trip. How are you guys doing tonight? Looks like we got a nice little crowd building. Um, we this week, this weekend, I started taking down our Christmas gifts, our Christmas decorations, and I hate that. I'd leave them up like for months, but it's time to start taking them down and putting them away. And it's always like 10 times harder to take them down than it was to put them up. But that's why I want to leave them up. So, how you guys doing tonight? How are things tonight? It was another open conversation with you all to see what your plans are for the year. I find inspiration a lot of times when I hear other business people talk about what they're going to do, what they're going to change. Sometimes they're going to retire. Sometimes they're easing out of it. I think I mentioned going to the Tommy Mello event several months ago, and he was talking about getting out. He was talking about selling the business and what happened, how he sold the business, and how he did some things with that. So I think all those are good because you're at different stages. You may be in the hyper growth mode. You may be in the, hey, I've got it good, I'm going to keep it right here, or I may be phasing it out. And I've planted the flag in the field of battle, and I've done it. I'm going to go do something else. So, where are you? What's your plan for 2024? We got a couple early comments. Let's see here. We've got doing good. Great to see you, Mark. Thank you. I hate when they do this, but I can't see who that is until I go back and look at Facebook on my own feed. Happy New Year, Mark. It's Lewis Lee from Hey, Lewis. Good to hear from you, man. We got to get together on your financial planning for chimney sweep. So I think that's a great idea. So the next couple of weeks, let's talk. Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Happy New Year, everyone. Looking forward to another amazing year of growth and expansion. So, man, that guy's got a great story. We need to have you on the show too, Daniel. You've got a great story about how he was a law officer and he got in the chimney business, and how he runs it's very different than a lot of people do. Very successful and very good. He's got a great story. He's told a little bit of it at the Heat Shield last year, I believe it was last year. And it's very interesting. Diane says these type of podcasts are my favorite. Oh, thank you. It's so funny to have guests on because sometimes they hit with people. Sometimes they're like, I'd rather not have a guest. But I'm trying to, get all the information that I hear of and get it to you guys. If people tell me something, I try to get them on the show. Someone's got an interesting story or a product or something. I'm just the guy that asks questions and shows the industry what's out there, and hopefully it rings for people. Yes, sir. So Daniel, we need to get you on this show because you got a very inspirational story, and I think people will really get a lot from it. Jeremy, hey buddy. Jeremy says, hello everyone. Happy 2024. Jeremy's a guy that I bet if he said his plans, it's to grow. He's in full growth mode right now. So let's talk about that. I did my podcast this week about that, the plans and kind of what we're going to be going through. This is a year that after going to the Tommy Mello event, which Jeremy was at and several other chimney guys are there, I decided to come back and take the table and flip it over upside down and just say, you know what, we're going to change everything. We're going to change so many things, not everything. There's clearly some things we do really well, but there's some things that can be better. Even if you're doing well, in this case, I want to talk about how can you be better or be going toward what you want to be. Because at the end of the day, this race is only against yourself. You're not in a race with anybody else. You're not in a race with me or Jeremy or Daniel or Diane or anybody else. Lewis, nobody's in a race. I'm not trying to be better than, I'm just in a race against myself. What can I do? What can we do? And I think that's the most healthy way, and cheer everybody on while they're in a race with themselves too. It's I've had people that were like didn't like to see growth or see somebody be successful. Also, success can be a different season of life. Like, if you knew somebody here, they may not look successful and you may not even know them until, they became successful, and they seem to come out of nowhere sometimes, but you didn't see all the grind and all the work and all the hard, the knocks. And my daughter, she's going through that right now with her business. Now, we both run a chocolate company, but we both have other businesses too. And she's in interior design, and she's actually getting into construction is what she's into. Well, man, she takes the beatings that I remember taking when I was, that stage of business, that kind of small stage where you're trying to build out your standard operating procedures, you're trying to build out your policies, you're trying to build out how things really work while you're learning it. And she had to like let some people go over the weekend while we're on a ski trip. She's, I'm trying to help her manage that, employee kind of thing. And then she's got a lot of subs that work for her. So it's interesting to watch her take the beatings, but she's so good at it. She's just tough. She's just really tough, and she handles, she's stressed, but she handles it well. And she's really good at it. So it's interesting to see her on her journey. I'm happy to be part of it. So got another one that says, Happy New Year, everyone. And then Josh says, sorry, man, it's Josh. I should be on now. Good to see y'all. Oh, no, sorry. I'm just doing the warm up. Let people gather, tell stories before we get started. So I'll tell you, it means a lot to me that you guys join. Every time I sit down in front of this computer, I'm like, is anybody going to be there? But every week it seems that, most of the time grow a little bit. Sometimes it shrinks, but if it's getting out there, that's good. I think, generally about, somewhere between 30 and 60 people join live across all platforms, including LinkedIn. And then I think another 400 people-ish watch it, in replay, 400 to 800. So I guess that means something. So thank you. Let's talk about this year. I'm going to tell you a few things that I'm going to do. I want to hear what you're going to do. And so who said it? So Daniel, I'd love to hear you say another year looking forward to growth and expansion. What's that look like? What's that look like for you? What does that mean? Is that add one truck? Is that adding 3 trucks? Is that adding 10 trucks? Is that adding a new location? Is that, what does that look like? Or is growth just a revenue number? I'm going to do more with the same number of trucks. I'm going to increase my revenue. Like, what does growth and expansion look like for you, and how are you going to do it? And I know that's a lot to type, and I know it's kind of a one side. Maybe we talk about it when you come on the show, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'll tell you one reason I wanted to talk about this is many years ago at this point, Lindemann Chimney, I remember talking to Mike Bodart, and he's like, man, we're going to have $1 million month this coming up, $1 million month in chimneys. And this was several years ago for them. And when I heard that, I'd never heard of that in the chimney industry. And $1 million month seemed like nobody had ever talked about that until he talked about it. And then I'm like, okay, $1 million month. I like that goal. That's a good goal. So we, a few years later, hit $1 million month. And now, we hit $1 million month every month pretty much. And so that is, that's like the new standard for that. But then what's the next goal? Is it $1 million week? Is it $1 million? Is it, is it like in Nashville, a HVAC company, Hiller Plumbing, probably 6-8 months ago, maybe a year ago, announced they had their first $1 million day in HVAC, $1 million day in blue collar work. I mean, is that not insane yet inspiring? Jimmy Hiller, he's in town here. He's a really nice guy, good guy. He's handing off to his son now. So he has he built a trade school inside his company. I'll tell you what he did real quickly. It might be interesting. In his company, HVAC, he bought a trade company that teaches HVAC. It was called Total HVAC Training. Total Tech is what they're called. He bought them and they were already like one of the number one trainers in HVAC. He brought them in house to bring them all in house, train them, hire them. And he's grown a crazy business. I mean, I think there's 750 million plus. And, but he really took that to another level, and he told everybody, hey, I had $1 million day. And so, and then I know Mike Fazius I talked about the $1 million a month, and then he started shooting for $1 million a month and he hit it. And that means something to us, but it may not mean anything to you. And that's fine. You may be, you may be fine with whatever number, because it doesn't really matter what everybody else is doing. What matters is what inspires you, what fires you up. And it could be something totally different. Got a few more things. So here is I love this. This is their plan. And I'm going to ask questions about this, so be prepared. I'm increase community outreach by offering ongoing education for home inspectors, realtors, insurance adjusters. I love that. So you're gonna increase outreach. So what does that look like? Calls to these people. You're going to ask, like, how are you going to do that? I think this is very needed. Especially because they don't know who you are and they don't know what you do and they don't know why they need you. Many years ago, a guy came to me at a home show. This is, 25 years ago. I was sitting at a home show, first home show I was ever at. And I had a banner behind me for Ashbusters and a table and my business cards and stuff. And this guy came up to me, old guy, and he's like, you don't do enough to tell people how much your service is needed. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm here at this show, aren't I? I was defensive. And he's like, you guys just don't do enough. You don't tell enough people. You don't show enough people. It's hard to know if there's very many people that are in your business. And take this back out. And so I was offended at first, and then I realized he was right. And so from that point on, I started to try to be involved in the industry. I started to be more involved in advertising and shows. And like this guy said, he's going to do a lot more education and a lot more outreach. I mean, that's what we need. Here's what we really need to understand as an industry. We need to cheer using fireplaces. We don't need to scare everybody from using fireplaces. We are on the other end of this. Our advertising, our Facebook things, everything needs to be about how great it is to use a fireplace, how important it is around the home, how it's, fundamental to life. Like, we need to, yes, our deal is to make fires not happen, but that can't be our message. It can't. I mean, fear does drive phones, but so does I want to use that fireplace and I want to feel good about it. So we need to cheer. And our messaging as companies need to be how great fireplaces are. Show more fireplaces in your advertising, them burning, people enjoying it. That's where memories are made. That's where, life, that's where the family can gather. Like, that needs to be our messaging as an industry a lot more than it is. Not just, hey, look at this chimney fire. Now, in a private group, I showed today where we're fixing a chimney fire and it happens. But, our messaging as companies, to put a pin in this last part, our outreach needs to be how awesome fireplaces are, how they're great in certain situations, how great they are. Okay. That's my plea for our industry. Okay. So the next one, this person wants to double the size of Oregon Chimney Sweep Association. So that's probably Lewis. So Lewis, double. Okay. What has been the track so far? How many people are involved in it or have been? And then how many what's realistic in the numbers? Now, when I was president of CSIA, we were at 1,300 chimney sweeps, and we'd been 1,300 certified sweeps for 10 years. We were kind of stuck at that moment, or stuck at that number. We would get a few more and we would lose that many. And it was just, we were stuck there. So one of my goals was, I'm going to get to 1,900 chimney sweeps, and here's how we're going to do it. So one of the ways we focused on was, I called it plugging the hole in the bathtub. Like, with CSI, we were gaining so many new ones, but we were losing them out the drain in the bathtub. So how do we plug that whole. How do we reach out to those people? How do we keep the ones involved, more involved? And then how do we attract new members? They teach you so much. And when somebody's not involved in the industry and you talk to them, you're like, where are you from? Like, are you not paying attention? Like, I was a guy that I used to work for me. He sent me a message tonight, said, hey, I need a liner and I need a thing. And I could tell that he hasn't necessarily been up to speed on what's new. He's kind of doing it on the side, I think. But I tell you too, when we went out to Oregon, when we went out to Portland for the national event out there, it seemed like Oregon, those guys had been kind of disconnected from the national thing. So when we got out there and got talking to them, a lot of them were very hungry to hear new information, that they were kind of like, maybe this time is the first time they'd ever been to a national event, or they hadn't been in 20 years. So I applaud that, that to double your size. I'd like to know how you're going to do it. Like what's the plan? Next one was educate all chimney sweeps in the nation of how proper life insurance and retirement plans can be designed to achieve S&P 500 gains and returns tax free. So I think this is still also Lewis. Man, you got a lot of education to do. I love your heart in this. That is going to be through your plan, through your new plan that you came up with. And I think as much as anything, business owners may know, maybe not, but employees really need to know. I know there's some people that really focus on training their technicians and people on financial awareness as well, as much as anything. And I've done that in the past too. I brought in financial advisors to talk to my people. What's surprising is how many of them still don't do anything with the best information, the easiest of deductions. They don't do it. Today, one of my companies, we're going through the insurance, health insurance plan, and we're up for renewal, and we're getting everybody logged on to do it. And I couldn't believe how many people didn't want it. They didn't want health insurance when I'm paying 3/4 of it. They're paying 1/4 of it, and I'm paying 3/4 of it. And they opted out of it. I'm like, why would you do that? And then it's the same with life insurance, and the same with some of these things that are, it's hard to get through to some people. So you gotta dance with the willing on that. Good luck with that. New comments. Okay. So, for Jeremy, he wants a close rate for a minimum of 25% on inspections. So that means when you go for an inspection and you find something wrong, that you're closing 25% of those. When you find something wrong, 25% of people are saying, yes, go ahead and fix it. I think that's what you mean by that. Some people have rates like that on phone calls coming in. Like, what's your close rate? When you tell them it's, $350 for a chimney inspection, what's your close rate on that? So there may be something to learn from close rate coming in on the phones. How many of those do you get? And then close rate once you have a proposal. And then how are you getting that close rate? Because close rate can be, hey, I'm cheap. I'm available. I'm an expert. They like me. Like, what makes up the 25%? But I love that. That's a great, I think, in my opinion, that might be a little bit low on 25%, but if that's good for you, then that's a step in the right direction. I would be interested to hear what people say is their close rate on proposed work from a chimney sweep. Now, ours, we do estimates, and we have 50 to 60. I should say it varies, 40 to 60% close rate. And then on my chimney sweeps is probably in that range of 20, 25. I'd have to check with that. But I guess that's maybe your question overall. And if that's a step in the right direction, perfect. So the next one would, when you achieve 25, how can we get 30? I don't think you're ever going to get much above 70% on close rates. And I don't think you want to. There's no way that if you're getting like 100% close rate, your prices are probably too low. You don't want to do every job that you bid, or you don't want to be involved with every single customer or situation. So I would say on the high end, and there's been some studies on this, you're probably, the sweet spot is probably 50 to 75% close rate. If you could get that, that's kind of a good number. Okay. Says this is Lewis Lee going to do in-person class seminars. Yep. Nice. So that's with all those different home inspectors and all those things. Home inspectors are big fans. Those guys are they're very hungry for knowledge. And every time I've spoken to home inspectors, they have a million questions. They're all ears. And that's a good group to tie in for. And I know that like CSI was tying into home inspectors. I know that Surefire, we have a home inspector path that we built. And then we've also worked with, I think it's called Empire Builders. They're a big like mastermind of home inspectors that we work with. And home inspectors are a good group to tie into. So congratulations on that. Josh says, my New Year resolution is to stock the van for add-on sales for business. The bottle of Speedy White or a cap is a small sale, but it adds up quick. My personal and business is to focus on the solution and stay positive. Man, it's so easy to lose positivity when you get tired, or when you've had enough people say no, or people are mad at you, or whatever. You know, we're in the bad news business, right? And so when you understand that you know, it's a lot easier to sell chocolate than it is chimney repairs. I can tell you that. People come in, they go crazy, they buy the chocolate, they're super happy, they tell all their friends. They come in, I come into your house to sweep your chimney, and I tell you, you know, your $300 bill goes to from 300 to 6,000. They don't super love me. Now they might not be mad at me, but it's a whole different feeling to sell chimney repairs than it is to sell chocolate. But good for you to stay positive. Why not? I mean, why not being positive has a real detriment, right? People can feel it. People won't buy from you. People will shy away from you. When you're not positive, you don't have that natural attraction of the universe. When you're positive and you're outgoing, things will naturally come to you. When you're negative, you're naturally repelling things, and you don't have the opportunity, and you can't really figure out why. You're like, I don't know, stuff just doesn't work out for me. Well, yeah, it's because of what you're putting out in the world. Most of the time, is this world is just a reflection of what you put out there. It really is. It's what you put out, you get back. Not 100%, but sometimes you get back way more than you put out. Sometimes you put out and you buy into a person and you give somebody everything you can, and then they absolutely crap on you. But in general, that's how it's the law of attraction. It's a universal law as much as gravity or anything else. You put these things out there in the world and they come back to you in spades many times. It's biblical too. So, all right. So then we got Debbie. Hey, Debbie, hope you're doing well. Need to educate legislators as well about the benefits of wood burning, backup fuel, and the importance of our industry. 100%, Debbie, 100%. That's a tough thing. I think, again, I talked about this in a previous show where, you know, over in Europe, they're in not all of Europe, but Germany especially, they are like, they're just stopping the wood burning. They're stopping this, and they're killing this whole industry over there. And we've got to watch out, or we'll go right down that path too. And Debbie, I applaud you. I know you do work in that on that side of things for NCSG, and you're right about that. We need the people to fight for us too, right? We need the homeowners to fight for the ability to burn wood and to, you know, have these opportunities to choose the fuel of their choice, instead of the government coming down and saying, well, you're all electric now. Like, you're getting rid of propane, you're getting rid of natural gas, you're getting rid of wood. Like, we need to have people be excited to use their fireplace, not dreading to use it, right? So Debbie, I 100% agree with this message. I love that you're doing that. And as an industry, we need to celebrate all the fuels and burn them, and the excitement around that. Okay, so I would not accept less than 60%, but I don't have heavy competition. So this is on the close rate that we talked about before. So see, his rate is 60%. So I don't know what that looks like. Clearly, you know, that is a great number. It's one of the higher numbers I've heard on a chimney sweep inspection, turning it into, I think what you're saying is I turn that into additional work. And realistically, that's what we're all doing. We wouldn't really make a lot of money on chimney sweeps or inspections. Now, some people do, but in general, my company is still 7-8% of total revenue. Our main work is big chimney work, repairs. I shouldn't say big. Chimney work, chimney repairs is what we do. And that's where we really can grow and be different than everybody else. But man, 60%. See, so that's what I'm saying, Jeremy. If you're watching, I think this is Lewis saying this. His is 60%. So get to 25, get to 30. He said 60. That's a great goal for you. Lewis, you may have another goal. You may say 70. I have an inner feeling that it gets too high and there's something wrong. There's lack of opportunity. Depends on how busy you are. If every job is saying yes, City Bob used to say you need 1 in 10 people to say no, that you're too high. So anyway, okay. Make a friend, find a need. Deep. Make a friend. A lot of people need friends. A lot of people don't trust you when you become, but I like that. Find a need. That's the best one right there. That's find a need. They're out there, man. They're out there. Truer words never spoken. Not quite sure what we said, but I love your vibe. Sorry I'm late. It's okay. We're just here talking on a Tuesday night. Okay. Chase covers all day. Okay. So this is a goal for more chase covers. So it's interesting. What does that mean? So to me, whenever people say this, I want to quantify it. You've heard of those SMART goals. I can't remember the acronym now, but measurable, relatable, timely. What does it look like? Specific is what this S in SMART is. So specific. So chase covers all day. So let's just say you put on 200 chase covers a year, and I'm just making up a number. What's the real number that you think you could get to, and why? Is there going to be more need? Are you going to be doing more inspections? Are you going to focus on making more? What does that mean? So for me, this is what we do in my company. When we all put a goal out there in our level 10 meeting, my challenge is let's get specific. Let's show what the real number is and how do we get there. Love that. Okay. Chimney sweeps can be bread and butter for you. They totally are. They are the bread and butter for us. If we didn't get in the door to do the inspection and the sweep and call us for that, all the other doors wouldn't be open either. So by no means do I say that it's not our bread and butter, because it's what people know us for. So, man, this is good. A rapid fire of goals. So I want to talk. I'm going to tell you kind of what our goals are, some of the things we're getting ready to change and do, and the reasoning behind it. One of the things I'm getting ready to do is actually change my brand a bit. Ashbusters has been around. I started the company in '85, and it was called Chimney Master at the time when I started in Indiana. And then when I moved to Nashville, there was already a Chimney Master here, so I changed it to A. Allen Ashbusters Chimney Sweeps. A. Allen, my middle name's Allen. A. Allen was so it would be at the top of the yellow pages, and it was just a lot. And so then I got rid of the A. Allen and put Ashbusters Chimney Sweeps. And then I had a different logo. It was like a house with a chimney coming out of it. And my first logo was a muscular guy. Chimney Masters of the Universe was what I was basing my logo off of. And I love Master Universe. I had this real muscular guy with a top hat, brush, and a toolbox coming out of a chimney. And then I changed it to Ashbusters, and I changed the logo to a house with a chimney on it. And then may not represent who you are, what you do now. And so it was so interesting. When I got into this business, I bought the kit from August West. I bought the vacuum. It came with your brushes, a toolbox, a manual on how to do it, and a top hat, right? The top hat was your main marketing method. You could go to home shows, trade shows, walk around, knock on doors, top hat. People were like, what's this guy doing? And that was their main marketing. So that meant a lot to me personally. That's how I started the business, was that kit, and that I represented that in our logo. Well, that's really not what we do anymore. I just said it's only about 7% of what we do. I really need to be known as more of a construction company that specializes in fire, that specializes in safety. So we're going to go through that, and I have to put my ego to the side, and I have to put my, you got to put your ego to the side a little bit to change your brand, especially after 30 years, or change the whole thing, flip it over upside down. But I'm willing to do it. When I listened and read about how he thinks about stuff, it changed. It helped open my eyes as to what we're going to do. Now, I don't know what we're going to do. We may keep it all the same. We won't keep it all the same. There'll be some pretty big changes, but I'm willing to do that. I think for you, you need to be willing with your business, if you want to change it, to flip it over upside down and redo it. A guy called me today, was asking me about a product that he'd heard me talk about, gosh, 5, 6 years ago. He said, I heard your story about when you talked about, taking your chimney company from 70 employees back to zero, starting all the way over and starting the whole thing up. And it resonated with him that I was at that time. I'm like, this is not working. I have screwed this thing up. I'm going to just trash the business. Ashbusters 2008. I'm starting over. I've messed this thing up, and that resonated with him. I'm never afraid to do that. I think it helps. It's scary. And I feel like I'm about to do it in 2024. I'm about to flip over the table, and we're going to because every time I've done it, sometimes I go backwards at first, but then there's big gains on the other end of it once you fix it and go. And so I think that if you want big growth, you normally have to you got to throw some things in a trash can that what got you here will not get you there. Right. That's the thought process. If everything that you are doing got you here, great, perfect. But it's also the barrier to get you maybe where you want to go. I was talking to a guy one time, he had a $50 million business, and he said, I remember him talking about, I said, what would it take for you to get to 100 million? He goes, I know exactly what it would take, but I would have to trash almost everything we've done and a lot of relationships and people in key places because they're topped out. I'd have to trash it all to get to 100 million. He said, and I'm not willing to do it. Not at this stage of my life. I don't have the energy to do that, so I'm not going to do it. But he knew that sometimes that's exactly what it takes to go to that next level and provide more service and have a bigger company and those kind of things. So question was, branded, not blanded. He talks about how a lot of trucks and things just don't stand out, and white truck syndrome is what he calls it. But he makes these really well branded, companies and vehicles, and he's so good at colors, and he takes a lot of pictures of what it looked like before and what it looks like now. And I'm about halfway through this book, and I actually engaged this company to start with me. Actually, I sent a thing in today, and we're going to start. I'll show you maybe if you can see it. Some of these. Well, he shows actually too how much more response these vehicles got once you branded them in the way that he did versus the way they were, because they're so much more recognizable. They stand out so much. And I know Mike Fazy was one of the first guys I knew that went through this. This is Tommy Mello's company, A1, and I think he's partner in this company now, but this is his A1 garage door now. And then you can kind of see, so I got to center what it used to be. Not great. And then it's very, recognizable now. He's got several of these kind of, and sometimes he renames your company because sometimes your company name isn't good. I'll show you one that I love. It was called Bueller, and hopefully I can find it. This is Palmero. I was going to show you this thing. I think you will like it. I'm doing it live. I probably shouldn't be doing it live. Let me find it. Well, this is some of his stuff. Apex Plumbing, how he brands all of their yard signs and their hard assets and their brochures and things. It just looks so good. It's so different, and he's got a philosophy behind all of that. See if I can find this. Here it is, Bueller. I love this, what he did with this company, Bueller. The guy's name was Bueller. It was, I think it was called something really lame. Oh, Air Source America was the name before. And Dan got going with the company. He's like, your last name's Bueller. And and it just, it played off of that movie and things. And I love his thing. So that's one of the things we're getting ready to go through. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'll keep you guys going along. I know Brian, his last name just escaped me. He is actually in this book. He's a chimney guy out of Connecticut. He was at the Tommy Mello event. He did On Duty Chimney. And he did this, and his brand looks killer. He really did a nice job with it. So Got some more. Here we go. Let me go here. Okay. Josh says, if you're on a sweep, so we're switching topics. If you're on a sweep and they have no cap but need a liner or more, why not sell a cap on the spot to keep animals and rain out, then write up a proposal for the repair? They may go with someone else, but at least you got the cap. Thoughts? There's some people that say you should, if you can't do everything, don't do anything. I'm not of that camp. I am of the camp of doing anything you can will probably make it better than it is. But you have to cover yourself and say, hey, I still recommend not using this. I'm putting the cap on to protect it from further damage. I'm putting the cap on to protect it from rain and animals and these kind of things, but I would still not use it. Like there's many times that we'll do exterior repair to stop the water, but say you still can't use it. I mean, we're just stopping the house from being damaged, but this is still not a usable appliance. So Josh, to answer your question, I think with the right documentation as to what the expectations are as to your repair, like if you're fixing a crown and putting a cap on, but the liner's shot, you still have to say, hey, I'm going to stop the water intrusion, but you still shouldn't use this fireplace. You know, I'm all about doing anything you can to stop damage and further deterioration versus doing everything. I'll tell you a quick story. I was at one time, I was super broke. I'm driving a piece of crap chimney van and I rolled into Pep Boys and my brakes were grinding. And I went in there and I said, hey, I need new brakes on my front end. They're grinding, and they put it up on the rack. So yeah, you need full brakes, rotors, master cylinders, the whole thing, but you also need the back brakes too, which weren't giving me a problem, but they were probably pretty close. And I said, well, I can't afford it. I think it was $800 for the front brakes. I said, man, that's all I've got. I can't do the back brakes. And like, well, we're not going to do anything. We can't let you drive out of here without doing anything. I said, I can't afford the whole thing. Doing something right now is better than nothing. It gets me on the road. I understand you're not liable if I have a wreck, but most likely back brakes failing isn't anything like front brakes failing. They wouldn't do anything. I had to have the car towed to another place that would just do the front brakes. And yeah, you need back brakes as soon as you can. Great. I will do that. I will be in here. And I understand people are worried about liability and you have to decide if that's for your company or not. But me, to answer your point, Josh, I'd rather do something than nothing with the right documentation of safety and expectations of use, or, hey, I'm going to stop the water. I'm not fixing the safety kind of thing. Jason. Hey, Jason. Been talking to him a lot lately. Okay. For me, it's going to be taking 15 to 25% of the time I would otherwise be spending in the field doing field related stuff and moving into time working on the business, whether that be standard operating procedures, podcasts, and what have you, but making the time instead of being in the field. I don't know the size of your company, Jason, but that's one of the toughest steps is what you're getting ready to do. That step from coming out of the field into the office, sometimes you feel worthless. Sometimes you're like, the guys won't respect me if I'm not in the field, before them and after them. That is not how it really is. And so I applaud you for making that step. It's crucial for future, Jason. It's crucial for future business. So you can bring people in, train them on this great trade, and bring more people in, get them excited about chimneys, and also grow your business. And if you want to, that's what you have to do. Unfortunately, this stage is so much more busy. I always say you're trading backaches for headaches, right? When you come out of the field, the backache, you're trading it for headaches, which is employees, more customers, money problems, knowing your numbers, knowing stuff you never wanted to know. But you have to know it to grow a business. And I always say that a lot of guys in your step are expert technicians, but novice business guys. And you have to learn to be an expert business guy. That is your challenge. If you want to make this move, and this may be controversial, but if you're going to make the move in business, don't keep going to technical classes, more and more inspection classes as the owner. Definitely send your people to them, definitely know it, but you need business classes. If there was a choice between a business class that you don't know much about or going to see how to repair a crown, and you love repairing crowns, you better not go to that crown class. You better go to that business class about numbers, finances, and how this thing works, leadership. Like, you're going to have to choose the hard thing versus choose the thing you're already good at. And to your point, podcast, reading, you may not love it. I've learned to love it. But I absolutely agree with you that you have to take a percentage of your time. Maybe it's every Friday, and don't let people eat into that Friday, because they will, or every Monday, or whatever the date is, and build up the business. And now with Chat GPT and all these things out there, you can write SOPs in 2 seconds. Tell Chat GPT what you want it written according to NFPA 211 standards or the Chimney Safety Institute of America standards. Write me a SOP for chimney sweeping, and it'll, and say, write it for ABC Chimney, and it'll put your name in it, and it'll write the SOP, and you go through and edit it and add to it. And SOPs, if you want to get them done now with AI, they can be done. You can have them done in a weekend. You could have 20 SOPs done, edited, and printed, or put on your Google Drive, or however you're going to do it. Put on Surefire. A lot of people put on Surefire. You can upload stuff to it too. So it's a single hub to put all your documents and all your stuff to make sure people read it. But anyway, man, if you want to do it, make it happen. Here's one other thing about standard operating procedures. I'm just ranting tonight, but if you have people in your company that work for you, get them involved in the standard operating procedure process of making them. So get everybody together, and I do a thing called a Post-it note exercise, and maybe I'll show it here one night. I learned it from Ellen Rohr, and we sit together and write the SOP. We start, top to bottom in 15 minutes using your team. You could start with, Chat GPT and have it sitting there, but then say, how do we do this? And you write it down. When you have everybody included in writing the standard, you have a lot more buy-in, and it's not so much work on you. And we all agreed that this is how we're going to do it. And so that's the way I would write it. But we should talk, and I can show you some fast ways to get through that. Okay. Love it. Man, we got a lot of comments. Okay. Jeremy says, we're also renaming, rebranding. Kind of scary with Kickcharge. Oh, you're going through the same process. I think it's a good move, but kind of risky. Yeah. So Jeremy, you're going to do a renaming too. I'm going to keep my name. And I'd be interested to know why you're renaming. Yours is, I can't remember the name of your company. I've seen it. I know I've seen it, but, and I would like to know why you're renaming, but I applaud you for looking at it that way. Okay. We as a company filled out our individual report moving to the new year. 3 strengths in or outside of work, 3 ways you could improve at work, and where you feel you're at best in a particular job and feel I like that. Networking and creating more relationships in the industry with local business owners was one of my improvements, whether it be events, lunches, classes, or shows. Firm believer in continuous education, but I know I could learn so much more from those around me. Never complacent on, and I don't know, it won't let me see the rest of what you typed. So that's his plan. I love that. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he's going to do it. I have a feeling, and yeah, Lewis, I would love to do a class called Know Your Numbers. Yeah, that's always helpful, especially if you can make it. I've been through a lot of numbers courses, and when they're given by accountants, they're boring as hell. But when they're given by people who can really relate to people and why it's important and how to get that number, I think it means a lot. For me, knowing my numbers means hiring the right person to give me my numbers. I would rather take this pen and jam it right in my eye as to go through a numbers exercise for me to get my numbers. But that doesn't mean I don't have to know them. I absolutely have to know them. So I have to hire people that give them to me. And so, but some people love to know the numbers and want to, and maybe you're that guy, Lewis. My wife is that. My mom was an accountant. My wife's an accountant. I got accountants all around me. I am not that. And it's the same like me speaking on this Surefire Live. My wife would never do this. There's no way she would ever do it. Would hate to do it. She would crumble. It's like me with numbers. We all have our strengths. But I like what you said about how you're getting more buy-in from your people with the your 3 strengths inside and outside of work are great. 3 ways you can improve at work. and where you feel you're best in a particular job. Super valuable. And that's good leadership there, finding out what they want. Now, you can't be too soft and give everybody what they want, of course. You have to say, hey, I know you're good here. We'll see if we can make a spot for you. In the meantime, you got to get good at this, kind of thing. Fascinating conversation. Nicholas. Hey, Nick. After 3 years in business, Chad finally got me to switch to the office before the busy season. By far, it has been the smoothest and most profitable busy season yet. Congratulations. I can solve 10x as many problems as before. Man, and I think, Nick is saying through guidance, through mentorship, through coaching, I saw a different opportunity. And that is key, is to, I always say that John Meredith is a big mentor of mine, and Larry Winget, and I've got a handful of mentors and still have them. And they will say stuff to you, but Nick is one of those guys, from what I understand, that will do it. Like when he's told to do something, he's like, okay, I'm going to do that. And he's seeing the results of it. So some of you all may need to get a mentor in your life. Some of you all may need to reach out and find somebody that can, help you. Now, I do these things, these podcasts, these lives to shed information, but it's general. It's like a preacher, he's not, he's trying to help. And in this case, I got really close feedback, but you also need somebody calling you on your crap. You need a coach that you trust and believe in and is ahead of you in business and can say, stop doing that, quit doing that, or you need to do more of this, or quit focusing on that, look over here. And that's what a lot of us need. That's what I needed for sure. A couple more things. Jeremiah, this is Jeremiah Mundy. Hey, Jeremiah. The rest said, never complacent, onwards and upwards. Have a great New Year, Mark. Thank you so much. Never complacent. Yeah. I think that some people say, like, why do you do all this? Why do you? And for me, it's more like the game. I just enjoy the game. I just want to see what can happen and what's possible. Some of you that follow me on social media know I basically started a new company yesterday. It's called Blue Rocket. It's it's graphics, it's van wraps, shirts, signage, all the stuff, printing. It's all the stuff that I already buy. And I bought it from this company for years, 10 years. They were my guys. The owner of that company died. Got handed off to I think it was a son or somebody in the family, but their main technician didn't really want to follow along with the new leadership. He started his own company, ran it for a while. He does great work, super talented. And one day I could tell like he was pretty frustrated. I said, man, if you'd ever want to partner, I was thinking about buying a t-shirt machine myself to make all my own garments just for our own use. And he came to me, and after he talked to his wife, he said, yeah, let's partner up. So, man, we bought large format printers and all the stuff, new brand, just launched it. But the reason I did is because Ashbusters and Poppy and Peep and my powder coating and all these things, Surefire, are already buyers of all this stuff already. So it just made sense. If I can be the biggest customer of a thing, I will start that business. So that's why we started metal fabrication, because Ashbusters was spending hundreds of $1,000s in metal from somebody else. Then powder coating, spent $100,000 in powder coating. And Surefire was spending $250,000 plus in education. And whenever I'm spending a lot of money in an area, it makes a lot of sense to kind of bring that in. And so that's why we started this new business for. Now, he's got his own clients, and we've got space, and we moved into a facility over the last couple of weeks and set up shop. And it's going to grow out of that real fast, but we're in it and getting started. But it's exciting. But the businesses that I've had struggles starting, like HVAC, Ashbusters could not be the biggest purchaser of that. That's been a hard business for me to really get traction in. Another hard business for me was I started a cleaning business many years ago with a partner, and we were doing Toys R Us, Babies R Us, these grocery stores, stripping, waxing floors, and doing all those things. And that was not a good business. He was not a good partner, and it was we were the low bidder on a low bid national contract, so I couldn't hardly pay the people. Plus, you had to have all these people show up about 11 o'clock at night and clean through the night, and you know how easy that was to manage. It was terrible. chocolate was not in line with Ashbusters. Now that's been a whole different thing because we found traction in that. But the easiest business for you to start to add onto your business is something you're already buying a lot of. Copperfield started because he was a chimney sweep. Lindemann Chimney Supply started because they were chimney sweep. National, Olympia, every single chimney supply company that started because it was a chimney guy that had to buy a lot of stuff from somebody else, so they started their own thing. Well, that's what I'm saying is probably one of your easiest verticals to start if you're looking to expand your business. Okay, so lots of comments. Jeremy says Tristan's. Yeah, Tristan's. Not very memorable, clearly. Well, that was the other guy's name that you bought it from, I think. Named after my niece from my dad. Right, that was it. Not meaningful if I sell. Now's the time if I get much bigger. Logo is tweaked, a tweaked stock image, so it's terrible. Perfect, Jeremy. Love to hear. I love to see what you do with that and what you come up with through this process. And I'll share my experience too, because I'm excited to go through it. And the people I've seen go through it have really good results. Hey, Chad. Good evening, Chad. Just joining late. The start to know your numbers is easy this week and next week. The start to know your numbers is easy this week and next week production and sales. Nick is an implementer. So he's saying that's how Chad really, he watches his numbers probably more than anybody I've ever met. And he said he's trying to get better at not watching them it's almost like play by play, like you're watching a sports game, how he knows his numbers. He says, we sold this much today, this much, and he knows those. So he's saying the way he did it is to start almost micro. What's today? What's this week? What do we need? One of the keys to know your numbers is what your overhead is and what your cost of doing business is. So many people don't know their cost of doing business. And so how can you even price yourself? How do you know how to price anything if you don't know what it costs you to be in business, especially after you grow a little bit? A lot of people grow and their budget, how they run the business is how much money's in the checking account. Like they're not running on a bid budget. They're just looking at the checking account saying, we can buy more stuff or we can't. And that works for a little while until you get very many employees, until you get depreciating assets, until you got to buy more stuff. And a lot of people just look at the bank account and go, hey man, I'm doing great. I got a bunch of money. Let's buy some stuff. And then, oh man, I'm not doing very good. There's not much money in there. Let's panic and do something else. So, to what he said, knowing your numbers weeks by the day and by the week, but also your cost of doing business and running on some type of budget. Like you can flatline budget in QuickBooks and just look at last year, look through it, make sure all those things are real, and then make that the budget for this year and look at it every month. It's really not that hard. I have to have people help me with it. I say it's not hard, but I hate doing it. This is a great conversation. It's already 54 minutes in and we're flying through it. And then Chad says, oh, I can call people out on crap. Yeah, it's what you need, right? You need that in your life. We need that. It's sometimes hard to hear it. It's sometimes you don't want to hear it. Sometimes they're wrong, but in general, if they're ahead of you in business, what they're saying has a real likelihood of being right. I'll tell you this too. Like I wrote a book and I talk about things, and then I'll have somebody say, that didn't work for me. And when I look into what they did, they missed a step. They missed something that I said, like, I'll show you my commission structure. And then they'll say, that wasn't working. And then I go through it and I'm like, but why are you doing this? You missed this and this step. Oh, well, I wanted to change it. And then my attendance policy, I've had people say it doesn't work and they miss some step in the attendance policy that makes it work. And it's kind of like baking a cake and you change flour for, baking soda or something. Like it looks like the cake, but it's not, because you missed a key ingredient. You're not getting the same results. So whenever somebody tells you to do something and it's not working, go back to the source and say, man, this isn't working for me. Tell me why. I remember when I was coming out with my We Fix Leaking Chimney campaign and kind of telling the industry about it. And I showed people my commercials and it was super simple. We fix leaky chimneys. That's all I said. I showed a thunderclap, a chimney, a crack in it. We fix leaky chimneys. That was it. 15-second commercial. And then I had some people say, "Hey, this isn't working for me. I'm trying it, but it's not working." And then I would look up and they had a bunch of bad reviews. So I understand TV makes people look you up. And if you have bad reviews, you never know they look you up. They go to the next person who has good reviews. So your commercials probably did work for somebody else. Also, people would take my message of "we fix leaky chimneys" and change it. They said like "we fix leaky, stinky, smoky, funky chimneys," like all these things. Or they would say "we fix leaky chimneys, we do liners, we do dampers, we do safety inspections, video this." And they basically puke all over the customer on the message instead of keeping it super clear, like super clear. And they weren't getting the same results. I'm like, well, your message is not the same. You didn't do what I said. Now, I'm not saying everything I do works, because it doesn't. I have things that work great in Nashville that won't work in some of our other markets. I have certain things that work in South Carolina that don't work in Nashville. So I'm just saying, if you listen to a coach, say like Chad or somebody else, and they tell you to do something and you're not getting the results, don't just abandon it. Go back to the source and say, "Hey, this didn't work for me. Help me understand why it's not working." And a lot of times you might have missed a step. Diane, back to branding. John and I look at vehicles all the time to see if we can tell what services they provide and how to contact them as we drive. So many vehicle wraps are so busy, you have no idea, but it looks beautiful. We were told to do this before wrapping our van back when we were active in the industry. We took our time with a graphic designer for our wrap. And so for our wrap, our services and contact info was easy to decipher. Good luck with your new endeavor. Yeah. When you start looking at it, especially for me after reading this book, when he tells you these things to look at and consider, and he's actually he's live on Facebook all the time. He's in a couple groups I'm in, and people will put their brand up and he will sit there and run through it about what's wrong with it. And it's so right. He's so dead on. It's probably one of the best I've ever seen at this particular branding van wrap thing. In fact, I might try to be associated with him in Nashville, because he brands companies and then he needs companies to wrap the vans after he's made the design. And we may talk to him about being a Nashville distributor for him for my Blue Rocket company. But highly recommend it. And sounds like Jeremy's having good luck with it too. Logo.ai will give you some good ideas to generate a great logo for you. Yeah, I use a company called Looka, Looka, and that's an AI branding logo company that does very similar things. It probably isn't the final logo, but man, it's so good and so fast. So Logo AI, I love that. I love all the AI stuff. It's incredible. I hope I don't regret that one day saying that. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. I think that is the best line for 2024 and growth in general. I think you have to understand that it has to be uncomfortable. I'm like, I'll tell you real quickly. This year, what I got lined up was we're switching CRMs. We're switching everything we do is switching there. We're switching our branding. I started a new company, a graphics company. We're going through new branding, and I also signed the paperwork to build a new building in an election year. Of all the things, this is scary for me. I'm not super young. I've got to build this thing while I'm still young enough and healthy enough. So I'm all the time a little bit scared of things. So if you're scared of stuff, that is okay. And it may not work out. Like almost everything I've started has a failure right off the bat. Something didn't quite work like I thought it would. Just different things happen, and like your nightmares start to come true. But man, if you just stay in it and stay with it, if it was a good decision, it normally writes itself. You got to figure it out though. And that's a challenge. It's not normally, I can tell you every single business I've started did not go the way I thought it was going to go right off the bat. There's going to be some pivot, some change. And I think that's overall what my team is really good at, is pivoting and changing with the wind that didn't work like we thought it would. My powder coat company, just a quick story. we got a big contract, and I moved this huge 100-foot long powder coating assembly line from one facility to my facility in Nashville. Uh, uh, Big name in tumblers and cups, powder coat and tons of stuff for them. And then they got a new president. And new president decided to buy everything from China and stop buying it from America. And I've got a fortune in this new machine. I brought their employees on, and next thing I know, I spend all this money. They run the contract. It's supposed to be for 3 years. They ran it for 3 months, and all of a sudden, no more stuff. But probably 6 months, I should say. And then boom, they cut me off, and I had no idea why. They didn't tell me. Chocolate, same thing. Well, so powder coat, they fixed it. They signed the contract, and it came back. Chocolate, we opened. Took us 3 years to open February 2020, and COVID hit March 2020. We opened, we spent all this money, time, open, and immediately closed. Like, I can tell you every single thing I've ever jumped into had a backlash right off the bat. That wall came up, and we just worked our way through it. And I highly recommend that. Chad says, great advice. Thank you. Josh says, for repeat sweeps, what is everybody doing to get them in the books for next year? What's the thoughts on City Bob's sweep for life? That's an old one, man. Josh has been around for a long time. Josh is manager for us up in Milwaukee. And then sweep for life was City Bob's like calling card. It worked for us for years ago. Mark, why not have some chocolate right before presenting proposals? Yeah. I have a feeling if there's a lot of chocolate riding around in the vans, it may not make it to the customer's front door. But it's interesting. Jim Brewer had one of the best ways to keep people on the books year after year and having repeat sweeps and all that. And Josh, just so you know, with our new software, we're going back into maintenance programs and having people sign up for maintenance clubs, just like we do in HVAC, because we got several hundred people under contract for HVAC. And we used to have several under contract for gas work and gas logs, gas fireplaces. We weren't as good about it with wood burning, but Josh, just so you know, that's on the table to really focus on that this year. Once we get our new software in place that actually kind of helps you sign people up for annual servicing. GCBU, I'm not sure what that is. Then let's see. Chad says, thank you for being vulnerable, Mark. Most people think it comes easy for you and they only see the now, Mark. I appreciate you saying you're scared. Thanks. Yeah, man. Me and Chad have talked when me and Chad have both been scared about things. And why wouldn't you tell people how it really is? Like, I don't understand. It's just what it is. I mean, if you're out there on the edge risking it, there's going to be some scary times when you get to that edge and the edge pulls back and you got 1 foot off of it and you feel like you're going to fall. And there's times you can run and you're like, hey, this is all working. And so anyway, I thank you, Chad, for saying that. I think it's really best for all of us to be just real and again, move through being scared. I think that's the word of the day is, I'm telling you what I'm getting ready to do, and all of it may not work. And it could come crashing down. I could overspend. I probably won't. I've got really good financial people that watch all my stuff. And because if it were up to me, I would spend too much. I would just go for it, put the pedal down and go. I'm just wired for that. And the people that are with me can see it. And sometimes it frustrates them. But they also know that in that creates opportunities for them as well. So, I'm going to say something. I don't think she'll mind, but a friend of mine, let's just say that she's a bigger person. And last year she had a motto that said, this is my year of yes. So she would always say no to all these opportunities that came up. No, can't do it. Don't want to do it. Can't do it. And then she went on a scuba dive trip. She decided 2023 was her year of yes. She's just going to say yes to more things. When somebody asked, it was the year of yes. And she did that. She went on a scuba dive trip. She did all these things that she would normally not do. Recently divorced. Well, this year, her motto is do it fat. So one of her things is she says no to a lot of things because she keeps saying, well, I'll do it when I lose weight. I will wear that when I lose weight. I'll take those pictures when I lose weight. I will do whatever when I lose weight. And she hasn't lost the weight. So her new motto is do it fat. And I love that. I think I said, yes, do it fat, do it whatever position you're in. Waiting is almost never the answer for momentum. And she learned that saying yes gave her whole different life experience. You've got something in your mind that holds you back for sure. Almost always. There's something in there that's holding you back. And it's hard to figure out what it is sometimes, but it's in there. And it's just some kind of a wall that you've put up saying, you tell yourself some story that probably isn't true, or and that's where a coach, somebody else, can really help you look at yourself differently, be vulnerable, be open for criticism. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's painful. When a mixed group came to my business several years ago, I've told this story a bunch, but it was like 2007, 2008. They were just hammering me on everything I was wrong about and everything that I was too soft on. And that's where I think podcast number 3 is SpongeBob Stoner Pants, where I was just so easy. And everybody said, you're just too nice. You're just too nice. And I'm like, I don't think I'm too nice. I was way too nice. And I can see guys that are super nice getting run over by people. And I'm not saying don't be nice, be kind, but being too nice is a weakness. And I think I've told this story a bunch of times. I'm going to say it again. We all went to dinner, and I had just gotten my heart ripped out, and they were right. I wrote down 100 things I needed to change about my company, and they were 80% of them were completely right, and I did them. But at dinner, they brought one of those SpongeBob. It was one of those things with sand in the bottom. It blows up and you knock it down and it pops back up. And they brought that to dinner, and they brought it and they put it in front of everybody, and they started punching it and saying it was me, how easy I am. And I just too easy. And I've said this a bunch. It was super painful, embarrassing, yet I was laughing through the pain, through gritting my teeth. And they were 100% right. And it taught me something. And sometimes you need a bully in your life. Sometimes you need somebody saying the hard thing. Sometimes you need somebody not being a friend, saying, stop doing that. Don't do that. And you need those people in your life. They're actually why is it when somebody tells you the truth, they're being mean? And you think somebody being kind is somebody just saying nice stuff but not telling you the real truth. The real people in your life that you need to keep around you is the people who tell you the hard truth, and they say that kind of thing, and they have your best interest. I'm not saying your parents or your wife necessarily. Sometimes it is, but mentors, when they tell you something and they're ahead of you in business, they're where you want to go, you need to listen to them, even if it's hard stuff. Okay, last couple things. We already said that. And then say, it kept me safe before and may not be keeping me safe now. That's interesting. Yes, we work to be safe. Like, we work for safety. If you can work on the edge of safety, one of my friends is a big chimney company out of Atlanta. He probably does the biggest chimney work I know of, like constantly $1 million projects and stuff, big industrial stuff. And he was always just on the edge of just growth and growing and doing things. And I remember one day he said, Mark, at any point I could be eating, tuna fish sandwich or the sardines out of a can, because I'm on the edge and I'm willing to gamble at any point. Now, I'm not there. I don't gamble that much. I gamble a decent amount all the time. I'm almost never totally playing it safe, though, because I just don't feel any passion in playing it safe. I'm always trying to figure out what's next. Thank you for always getting back up. Oh, you're welcome. I don't know any other way. Maybe it's not about being too nice, but instead it's about not knowing your boundaries. Yeah, that's good. Boundaries for me was, I'll do anything for you. If I'll be super nice to you, no matter how much your problem was. If it affects me on my boundaries, I will waive my boundaries so that you will be like me, or you'll be nice, or you'll stay working for me, or you will whatever. But to that point, when you do know your boundaries and your company knows your boundaries, what you'll put up with and what you won't put up with, man, you have a lot stronger company. It's a great point. Uh, those are the people you need to surround yourself with. Yep. We are a single truck operation, and I have a really hard time keeping up with all of the customers, especially doing proposals, quotes in a timely fashion. We are the busiest we've ever been this year, and it's slightly overwhelming. Good, needs to be. Any tips or tricks? It's much different working for a company versus running one. No truer words have been said. Let me say a couple things. Single truck operation is the easiest and the hardest. I think a 3 truck operation is the hardest. It was for me. Single truck operation was me super tired, me, handling the phone calls and going. Let me just say this, and I know we're over time, and thank you for everybody for staying with me. One of the things I did when I was a single truck operator was the first thing I did as the operator was I moved to the passenger seat. I moved from driving the truck around to riding. And then I had my helper who I was teaching and training drive while I was on the phone and doing all the bids and proposals and making phone calls and running the business from the passenger seat. That person then becomes, you've sat there with him across and trained him when he's ready and certified and everything, then he can run a truck, and you put another person in that passenger seat, in that driver's seat, and he drives you around. We call it drive Miss Daisy. So they drove me around all the time, and I trained them and talked to them. They heard how I handle business. They heard how I talk to customers. They heard how I ran the business all the way through, and they saw me do the work. They saw me do the, how I did everything on the job, and I trained them. And then they could run a truck and they could put somebody in with them. And I'd like to have them drive in the passenger seat. But now we've got other people help run the business. So a lot of my techs still drive, but that's how I got it from 1 truck to 3 trucks. Now at 3 trucks, you're probably close to $1 million business. And there's a whole nother set of problems that happen at $1 million. It's not like you're making more money at $1 million. A lot of times you're making less at $1 million because you got a lot of people. You start to get some fat in the business. You have some waste. You're processing a lot of jobs. You have a lot of quality control issues that you got to watch. I will just say this. I have a course that I do called Blue Collar University. I have companies come in. I work with you for a couple of days and show you how to do this, show you everything we do. I work with you. Day 1, I show you how we do everything. Day 2, we work on your business, kind of get a 3 to 5 year step-by-step plan about what you need to do, what numbers you need to be hitting, when do you add a truck, when do you add office staff. And so, but I'm not trying to sell it, because I have some time to do it, and I love doing it. I got probably 3 or 4 of them lined up, but there's a way to do it. There's other people out there that know how to do it, but your tips are, you're super busy, you're building a good name. Do you want to grow? And what does that look like? Does that look like I'm going to add 10 trucks? Is that going to, I'm just add 1 truck or 2 trucks? And then when do you want to add a truck? So for me, like a good growth, moderate growth is add a truck a year for 5 years. So in 5 years, you'll be at 6 trucks. Right. So that's a very moderate, very manageable growth plan for you to write down. But what I would say is write it down. Tell everybody what we're going to do. We're going to add a truck next year. For sure, we're going to be 2 trucks by fall of 2024. And by fall of 2025, we're going to be the next level. We're going to add another truck. We're going to be 3 trucks by 2025. We're going to be 4 by 2026. That kind of thing. And tell everybody, watch for opportunities to happen, and they will present themselves. You then have to decide, do you want to go through that door? But I don't know who this is that said this, because this Facebook user, but you can reach out to me, private message, be happy to shed some light on it. I think this says end family. That might be people not to listen to. Great podcast. Thanks, and have a prosperous new year, everyone. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that's my time. Man, 2024, I hope you have big plans. I hope this was helpful. I hope I love seeing everybody's plans. I don't see anybody other than Diane. They sailed their path, and they retired, and they're living it up. And I'll tell you the one thing that I would ask for you to do is volunteer more and help others. Like in this industry, figure out a way, and Lewis is figuring it out. Diane and John figured it out. And Chad even figured it out, how to give back to people that are in need of help and in need of advice, need of you know, helping them in business. Figure out how to do that around you. I can just tell you, it's really why we're here, and it pays off in spades for you and for everyone around you. Josh says, love the show. You're a great mentor for us and your daughter. We appreciate you. Oh man, great close, nailed it. Thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate you guys. Josh got me a little teary eyed. What happened there? All right, guys. Happy New Year. Good to talk to you, and we'll see you next week.